Have you ever wondered why some people appear to be unaffected by life's challenges? Why are they indestructible mentally? Today, I'll be revealing the 5 habits of mentally strong people, which are based on Stoicism and backed up by real-world instances. These actions have the capacity to completely alter your way of living. Before we begin, if you're new here, please like and subscribe to this video. By the end, you'll have a new perspective on how to transform your life and enhance your mental health. See it through to the conclusion. It might change the way you see the world. Habit 1. Embracing change. Have you ever meticulously planned everything just to have your life take a different turn? Maybe you thought the relationship would last forever. Remember the individual you believed to be your soulmate? You dreamed of the future, made plans, and imagined aging together, but they departed after that. Allow me to tell you a story. My friend Daniel was very smitten with his girlfriend. They had a pet, a Netflix password, and many late-night conversations about the future after years of dating. For Daniel, she was more than just his friend. She was the plan. At first, he thought it was a small setback. But one day she suddenly said she needed space. He tried harder with dinners, flowers, and heartfelt letters. But no matter what he did, she seemed farther away. Then he realized she wouldn't come back. He was devastated. Can you relate to that? You may have gone through the restless nights, the nameless anguish, the repeating of every moment, and the question, what went wrong? You have the impression that the ground gives way beneath you and that you are dropped into the unknown with no direction. For weeks, Daniel was mired in that loop, trying to fight the change, sobbing, and worrying excessively. However, this is when the intriguing part begins. One evening, Marcus Aurelius came upon the remark, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. You will get stronger if you accept this." As he sat with that quote, it resonated with him. He had some control over his own response, but no power over her decision. And that marked a turning point in his life. Daniel stopped attempting to avoid reality. He embraced the shift in spite of the pain. He resumed hobbies he had abandoned throughout the relationship, started journaling, and confided in his friends. Every day he felt a little lighter, but it was never easy. In actuality, life involves change. Relationships end, careers disappear, and plans fall through. But mentally strong people understand something that most of us struggle with. They don't see change as a threat. They view it as a chance to grow. Spend some time thinking about your own life. Have you ever been pressured to change in spite of your apprehension about it? Maybe a job loss, a divorce, or moving to a new city? How did you respond? You see, Daniel didn't just survive the divorce, he came out from it stronger. He found a higher feeling of self-worth, had a successful career, and at last met someone who appreciated him for who he was rather than the version they wanted to shape. This is what accepting change looks like. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It entails letting go of what you cannot control and concentrating on what you can. Life will always have unforeseen circumstances. Relationships may break down and individuals may go. But every ending also signifies a beginning, and that's where your power lies. If you've ever been heartbroken or felt stuck in the middle of change, this habit might be the one to free you. Habit 2. Establishing boundaries. I want to ask you a question. In a relationship, have you ever sacrificed so much of yourself that you started to lose yourself? You constantly said yes to everything in an effort to satisfy them, sacrificing your time, effort, and even your happiness in the process. Why? Didn't you love them very much? I'd like to present Sam to you. Sam was romantically attached to Lisa. They seemed like the perfect match. Based on their cute Instagram photos, date nights, and shared dreams, but things were different behind the scenes. Lisa had high expectations. She wanted Sam to be accessible 24/7, to take care of all her needs, to even give up his hobby so they could spend more time together. Sam didn't mind at first. This is what love is about, he found himself thinking, parting with something. However, as time passed, he started to see something. He was worn out. His friends started asking him, "Hey, where have you been?" His instrument was gathering dust in the corner of his room. His weekends, which had previously been spent hiking and exploring, were now filled with things he had agreed to do even though he didn't want to. Why? Because he didn't know how to say no. The worst thing is that Lisa's expectations were higher, and what had once felt like a fulfilling love now appeared like an endless work, and she became less grateful for his generosity the more he gave. Has anybody ever made you feel as like you were giving everything? You had to someone who simply took more or, worse, didn't seem to notice. Can you relate to Sam's story? At one point, Sam had had enough. He was confused, exhausted, and frustrated. He confided in his older sister, and her advice changed his life. "Love isn't about losing yourself, Sam," she said. "The goal is to create something together. If you don't set boundaries, you're allowing people to take advantage of you." That had a profound effect on him. Sam started off gently, telling Lisa that he needed some alone time on Sunday morning to recharge and play guitar. At first, Lisa retaliated, calling him selfish, but Sam refused to back down, explaining that seeking oneself wasn't selfish but necessary. As time went on, an interesting thing happened. Lisa began to respect him more. Their relationship strengthened as a result of their mutual respect and clearer expectations. Boundaries educate others how to treat you, not how to push them away. And mentally strong individuals understand that boundaries are bridges rather than barriers. Now, I want you to think about your personal relationships. Have you ever answered yes when you really wanted to say no? Have you ever felt guilty about putting yourself first? Setting boundaries is the ultimate kind of self-love, since without them, trying to please everyone else would make you lose yourself. But in addition to maintaining your peace, you will attract the sort of love that respects and values you for who you are with them. So stop and think, what boundaries do I need to set in my life right now? Once you set them, you'll find how powerful and freeing they can be. Habit 3, the power of sacrifice. I want to know how much is too much to sacrifice, but have you ever loved someone so much that you would sacrifice anything for them? Maybe it was your time, your dreams, or even parts of who you are, because you believed they were valuable. I would like to tell you a story about Adam and Mia. However, everything changed when Mia met Adam. Adam was friendly, ambitious, and self-assured, but he had a flaw. He didn't understand Mia's passion for art. To him, painting was just a hobby that didn't fit into their future together. Mia has a strong artistic enthusiasm. She felt liberated and able to express herself via painting, which was her life. At first, Mia thought that relationships required compromise, so she started cutting back on her artistic time to focus more on Adam. She stopped taking on contracts, skipped painting classes, and eventually the brushes that used to bring her joy began to gather dust. But she told herself that it was worth it because she loved him. But as the months turned into years, Mia began to feel empty, and at first she couldn't figure out why. Adam, didn't she have him? Wasn't that enough? The issue is that when you sacrifice too much of who you are for someone else, you risk losing the very qualities that make you who you are. During a disagreement, Adam once said something that really caught Mia off guard. "Why are you always so unhappy? You have my undivided attention," he remarked. She realized then that she had been sacrificing her happiness, her interests, and her aspirations to keep their relationship going, but it was not working. This is where the power of sacrifice comes in. True sacrifice is not about losing yourself for someone else, but about determining what is most important to you. Not because she didn't love Adam, but because she realized that love is insufficient if it requires giving up your soul, Thus, Mia made the most hardest decision of her life and ended their relationship. She started painting again. It seemed strange at first, like reconnecting with an old friend, but the joy soon returned. Over time, Mia built a life that satisfied her passions, and she loved. Have you ever sacrificed your happiness, interests, or aspirations because you thought a relationship would cost you anything? I want to know whether you have ever sacrificed too much for love. Mentally strong people know that sacrifice isn't about losing. Rather, it's about making choices and knowing that sometimes you have to let go of things you love in order to keep your identity intact. If you feel like you're losing yourself, take a moment to think about whether this sacrifice is making you feel better or worse. Because the strongest sort of love, the one that's worth fighting for, is the kind that allows you to be who you truly are. Habit 4, embracing failure and mistakes. If you have ever felt that your love was unsuccessful, I have a question for you. Maybe you gave someone your heart, but things didn't work out the way you had hoped, and you made every effort to keep them happy, including compromises and sacrifices, but they still left. If that sounds like you, this is for you. Let me share Ethan's tale with you. He was in a relationship with Rachel, whom Ethan thought he would spend the rest of his life with. They had plans, a house, a list of baby names, and a marriage. Ethan threw everything into the relationship, but soon cracks showed. Ethan tried to change because he didn't want to lose her, changing his routine, getting new clothes, and even putting his goals on hold. She'll stay if I can just be perfect for her, he thought. Rachel was critical of little things like his weekend activities, his clothes, and even his plans to start his own business. After all of his efforts, Rachel declared, "I don't think you're the right person for me," and they broke up. Did you ever do that? Do you hold yourself responsible for every mistake you make after a breakup? Ethan was saddened and replayed every moment in his mind, wondering what he might have done better. The Stoic philosopher Seneca famously remarked, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials," which Ethan discovered one day while browsing social media. Ethan spent months doubting himself, thinking that he was a failure as a person as well as in the relationship. It hit him like a bolt of lightning. Failure was not the end of growth, but its beginning. Ethan started to see his mistakes differently. He was imperfect, yes, but he began to see them as teaching moments rather than reasons for failure. And he realized that in trying to change for Rachel, he had forgotten who he really was. He began to rebuild himself, for himself and no one else. And this time he went back to his objective of starting a business with renewed energy. He even began journaling to help him reflect on his decisions and actions. Ethan gradually realized that his failure in the relationship wasn't truly a failure, but rather a correction in the direction of progress. Let me ask you this, have you ever thought that a failed relationship wasn't the conclusion of your tale, but rather the start of something new? People with strong minds don't fear failure, you see. They embrace it. They understand that every mistake is an opportunity to become stronger, more intelligent, and more resilient. Remember that you are not unworthy if you do not receive affection. It shows that you are a human being. Furthermore, every mistake you make teaches you invaluable lessons about love, yourself, and your own value. Therefore, let go of past mistakes if they are weighing you down. Seize the chance to grow, learn, and transform into your greatest self. Because in the end, failure is not the opposite of success, but rather the path to it. Habit 5. Self-love. How recently have you experienced genuine affection for who you are? I don't mean just smiling at oneself in front of a mirror. I mean genuinely liking oneself. The way you've loved someone who was very significant to you. Have you ever shown yourself the same respect, tolerance, and thoughtfulness that you offer to someone you care about? Let me present Emma to you. For 3 years, Jack and Emma had been together. Jack was the center of her universe. She gave him all of her heart, time, and effort. She supported him through his struggles, celebrated his achievements, and forgave him for hurting her even when he didn't apologize. But in the process, Emma lost herself. She stopped doing her favorite things like reading, drawing, and taking long walks on Sunday mornings. Her entire world revolved around Jack and his desires. When he canceled arrangements, she didn't mind. When he ignored her emotions, she brushed them aside. Why? Because she thought that the essence of love was giving everything, without expecting much in return. Then Jack stopped it one day. It's that easy. Emma was devastated, so he left after telling her he needed space. She realized she had lost herself in the process of losing Jack, in addition to feeling empty. Did you ever go through that? As though you sacrificed so much of yourself for someone that, after they left, you were no longer who you were? For weeks, Emma spiraled and hated herself. Was I inadequate? She questioned herself. Did I fail to properly adore him? But when going through an old journal, she came across something she had written years ago. Love yourself first, and everything else will fall into place. She broke down in tears upon realizing that, even after years of adoring Jack, she had completely forgotten to love herself. The turning point in her life was that Emma decided that she would start small. Her first modest acts of self-love were cooking her favorite foods, writing in her notebook and saying no to things she didn't want to do. She started painting again and found joy in the bright colors she had abandoned. At first, it felt strange, even selfish. But with time, Emma realized that loving oneself was not selfish. Rather, it was necessary. Strong-willed people understand that you can't pour from a cup that is empty. You cannot love someone else unless you first love yourself. Could you please respond to this query for me? When someone wronged you, have you ever been able to forgive them but not yourself? Have you ever praised someone else's achievements while berating yourself for not being good enough? In actuality, loving oneself entails more than just taking care of yourself. It's all about treating yourself with the same care, tolerance, and compassion that you would give to a loved one. The key is to see your worth even when others don't. In addition to getting over her breakup, Emma grew stronger and more self-aware. You can do it too. Because the best love story you will ever have will be the one you make with yourself. Let me repeat, how recently have you experienced genuine affection for your true self? If it has been a while, now might be the best moment to start. Conclusion: these 5 practices can help you develop more mental toughness and resilience. Which one best resonates with you? Tell me in the space provided for comments below. If you thought this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more motivational videos. Until we cross paths again, thank you for watching.